In the latter half of life, people are often not exhausted by work, nor worn down by age. They are exhausted by something that seems very small. The endless effort to live in a way that keeps everyone else satisfied. The older we get, the more we experience, the easier it is to fall into the trap of pleasing. We fear being misunderstood, fear being spoken ill of, fear being labeled difficult, selfish, or unreasonable. We fear making someone sad, even when, deep down, we ourselves have been sad for a long time. And day after day, little by little, we lose ourselves without even noticing. There are people who live more than half a lifetime still unable to say no. Someone asks for something, and they force a nod. Their heart has no strength left, yet they agree. Someone blames them, and they accept it in silence, though they did nothing wrong. Someone gets angry, and they rush to apologize, even when the fault is not theirs. They mistake this for being kind, being good, being proper. But one day, when the tiredness becomes too heavy, they suddenly understand. Living to please others is the shortest road to one's own suffering. Bodhidharma once taught a sentence that is startlingly deep. When the mind does not stand firm, even a light wind can make it lean. The first time many people hear this, they assume it is only about spiritual practice. But the longer one lives, the more one realizes the wind that makes us lean is not the storm of life. It is the gaze and the words of other people. A single compliment can make us happy all day. A single criticism can sicken our heart for a week. A cold glance can keep us awake at night, replaying imagined meanings. All of it happens for one reason. The mind is not steady yet. So in the latter half of life, what we most need to learn is not how to make others like us, but how to keep our own mind from being dragged behind other people's expectations. With enough maturity, we understand this. Pleasing everyone is impossible, and forcing yourself to do the impossible is simply a way of carving more pain into your own body. Some people live to old age still trying to prove they are good, considerate, not heartless, not selfish. And then they discover, no matter how much you do, there will still be someone who is not satisfied. No matter how hard you try, there will still be someone who does not see you. No matter how much you sacrifice, there will still be someone who treats it as obvious. That is when Bodhidharma's lesson truly lands. What others think of me is their business. How I live is mine. One of the most precious gifts you can give yourself in the second half of life is this. Stop striving to please the whole world, not by becoming extreme, not by turning cold, not by reacting aggressively, simply by living rightly, living kindly, without allowing praise or blame to lead you by the nose. You don't need everyone to love you. You only need your own heart to be at peace. Someone once said, "Live kindly, heaven knows. Live truthfully, your heart knows. Whether the world knows or not is not important." That is the spirit of entering the latter half of life lighter, calmer, and more self-possessed. At this age, what we keep is not dozens of relationships, but a few truly sincere people. What we need is not applause, but steadiness. What we seek is not society's approval, but ease in our own mind. When the mind becomes quiet, the noise of others naturally matters less. And we begin to understand something else too. Everyone carries their own life. People look at us through the lens of their own history, their own wounds, their own desires. That is not the truth. If we keep living around those eyes, it is like binding ourselves inside an invisible cage. Only when we stop running after others do we truly return to ourselves. Many people notice something strange in midlife and beyond. The deepest change is not hair, health, or work. It is the psyche. The older we get, the more easily we soften, the more easily we hesitate, the more easily we fear disappointing others. What youth dismisses becomes, later, a quiet but persistent anxiety. Fear of being thought badly of, fear of being blamed, fear of making someone unhappy. People call this the soft heart of middle age, a stage where the heart is seasoned and yet overly sensitive. Why does it happen? Because the more we've lived, the more we know loss is real. When we're young, we can say, if you like me, fine. If you don't, also fine. But after we've loved enough, sacrificed enough, lost enough, we begin to fear making anyone disappointed. We fear saying the wrong thing, doing the wrong thing, accidentally hurting someone. And perhaps the deepest fear is not illness or hardship, but the feeling of no longer being needed. That is why many people become addicted to pleasing. They imagine that the more accommodating they are, the more patient, the more good, the more others will cherish them. But life does not always work that way. Often the very people we try hardest to please do not notice, or they accept it as their right. Meanwhile, we grow tired, numb, and slowly lose our inner authority. Bodhidharma warned, when the mind is weak, decisions are easily wrong. When the mind is strong, external conditions cannot lead you. In the latter half of life, we fear upsetting others because the mind is weak, because we fear being left behind. But if we look closely, who is leaving us? Children have their own lives. Spouses have their own burdens. Society moves in its own way. No one is necessarily abandoning us. We have simply placed too much of our value into other people's hands. Keeping harmony is good, but if you keep harmony so long that you lose your own voice, that is no longer kindness. That is self-harm. The fear of losing someone's favor usually comes from 3 roots. First, we fear being seen as troublesome. Society teaches us to be proper, but many misunderstand proper as unconditional endurance. They fear that speaking truth will be called rude, that defending their rights will be called selfish, so they stay quiet, accommodate, accept. Second, we fear that if we don't please someone, they will leave. Many elderly parents try to keep children and grandchildren happy, not because they want to, but because they fear distance. They fear becoming a burden. They fear that one honest complaint will ruin the family atmosphere. They choose silence to keep the house calm, but the cost of long silence is accumulated hurt. Third, The older we get, the softer the heart becomes. Seeing more of life, we feel more compassion. And ironically, that compassion makes us compromise too easily, makes us swallow sadness too often. Not because we are cowardly, but because a heart that has endured much does not want more collisions. Yet that is precisely why the latter half of life requires a vital lesson. You do not need to please anyone. You only need to live in line with the morality of your own heart. Bodhidharma taught that truth is not in the mouths of others, but in the mind of the one living. People are free to say whatever they want. None of it decides your worth. What decides is how you face yourself when no one is beside you. If you live against your own heart just to keep external peace, that peace will only be surface deep. Inside will be resentment, exhaustion, loneliness. And here is the thing. No one teaches us clearly. Loving yourself is also a responsibility. Many traditions praise sacrifice. Many families praise endurance. But if you have no boundaries, your goodness becomes a weakness that others lean on, push against, even trample. So understanding the fear of disappointing others is the first step to moving beyond it. And once you see clearly, you realize the latter half of life is not the time for others to define your worth. It is the time for you to decide for yourself. No need to oppose anyone. No need to raise your voice. No need to keep proving. Just live quietly in the way your heart has been refining all these years. Those who truly care will understand. Those who don't, no amount of effort will ever be enough. If there is a truth most people only fully absorb later in life, it is this. Much of suffering does not come from major disasters, but from caring too much about what others think. A careless comment, an ambiguous glance, a half-finished remark can disturb us for an entire day. Sometimes it isn't even about us, but we turn it into a burden in our mind. In the latter half of life, we imagine we should be steadier, yet many become even more sensitive. Someone's tone shifts slightly, and our heart stirs. A few unfriendly words, and we begin to overinterpret. We are not mentioned in a gathering, and we feel a pinch of humiliation. Bodhidharma said, "When the mind is moved by circumstances, it has not yet been trained." Simple words, but in life, profound. The mind gets moved by a sentence, a gesture, a silence. And once it is moved, we no longer govern ourselves. We let our thoughts chase other people's thoughts. We let our emotions be controlled by invisible things. We fall into spirals of anxiety, sadness, self-blame, resentment. The gaze of the world is like clouds in the sky. Let clouds be clouds. Dark or bright is the sky's business, not yours. But we carry those clouds into our chest, and the lightness becomes stone. People suffer for 3 reasons related to the eyes of others. First, we confuse our worth with the world's gaze. From childhood, we are taught to be praised, to be good, to be agreeable. Eventually, we don't know what our true value is. We live as a shadow of other people's desires. Praise gives us joy. Criticism gives us pain. Our happiness hangs on other people's mouths. That is the root of suffering. Second, we become obsessed with what people say and forget they are seeing through their own eyes, not the truth. Some like you, some don't. Some understand you, some never will. Some see your effort, others only notice your flaws. You cannot make everyone think the same. Yet we forget and keep handing our heart to hundreds of eyes. Third, we imagine we are being watched far more than we actually are. Everyone is busy with their own life. Few have time to track our every step. Yet we place ourselves at the center and pressure ourselves as if the world were watching. A neighbor doesn't greet us, and we think we're disliked. A loved one replies briefly, and we think they've grown distant. All because we have elevated public opinion too high. Bodhidharma taught, when the mind is bright enough, other people's shadows cannot cover you. When you know who you are and live by the inner code you have chosen, others' words lose their power. You can still appreciate praise and still listen to criticism, but neither rules you. You become like an old tree. The wind can shake the leaves, but the roots do not move. So much of the sorrow of the latter half of life comes from expectation. We expect others to understand, to be grateful, to behave as we want, to see us as we see ourselves. When they don't, we feel hurt, but they are only human, limited, imperfect, carrying their own burdens. And we too are human, tender, scarred, sensitive. The problem is not that someone is wrong, but that we gave too much authority over our peace to other people. If there is something more important than money, status, even reputation, it is this: each person must, at least once, look back and re-establish their true value. Not the value the world assigns, not the value built from others' expectations, but the value formed from experience, self-respect, and awakening. For half a lifetime, we live inside expectations. Parents, spouses, children, society. Be good, be capable, be considerate, sacrifice, carry the load, endure. And eventually we forget to ask, how do I want to live? The most frightening thing is not living a hard life. It is living a life you never chose, simply because you were afraid others wouldn't be pleased. Entering the latter half of life, perhaps it is time to set those expectations down and ask, who am I? What have I endured? How do I deserve to live? The worth of a person is not in what others see, but in what they never see. The sleepless nights worrying for children, the private pain endured alone, the silent compromises made to keep the family calm, the unspoken sacrifices. Others may not know, but you know. Heaven knows. Your heart knows. Bodhidharma called this self-knowing, a great intelligence, knowing your strengths, weaknesses, needs, and desires. Those without self-knowledge live their whole lives in someone else's shadow. Some live to be praised. Some live to avoid blame. Some live to preserve a fragile peace. And the greatest thing they lose is themselves. When you restore your inner value, you stop chasing recognition. If it comes, fine. If not, also fine, because you know you are not living in deceit. You know you have lived with decency. You know your heart is not false. And when someone stands firmly on inner value, a quiet dignity emerges that does not require explanation. The latter half of life does not require you to be perfect. It asks you to be calm. Calm enough not to compete, not to keep score, not to hand your worth to other people. You learn not to let criticism crush you, and also not to let praise inflate you. Not to let one failure convince you you're useless, and not to let one success convince you you're above anyone. In the latter half of life, kindness must have boundaries. Gentle, but not so gentle you are used. Tolerant, but not so tolerant that anyone can wound you. Being good becomes being good with a spine. Much of suffering comes from undervaluing yourself and overvaluing others. Someone says something unkind, and you immediately assume they're right. Someone criticizes you, and you think you must change. But later in life, you learn to ask, is what they say true of who I really am? If not, why suffer? Your real value is never in the world's mouth. It is in how you live when no one is watching, how you face yourself at night, how you act with decency without needing credit, how you stay steady when life isn't as you hoped. And another lesson arrives. You do not have a duty to satisfy everyone. People can like you or dislike you, understand you or misunderstand you, cherish you or belittle you. None of that determines your true worth. The only thing you must keep is this. When you look back, you do not feel ashamed before your own conscience. Bodhidharma taught, external conditions cannot decide your mind. Only an unsteady mind is turned by circumstances. What people say and do is their business. How you respond is the part that belongs to you. If you live by praise, you will suffer by blame. If you live to make people happy, you will collapse every time they are disappointed. If you live to satisfy the world, you will be the first person to betray yourself. The wise person in the latter half of life does not chase approval. They live according to duty, ethics, and the heart they have chosen. Do not do wrong, do not speak cruelty, do not cause harm. But they also do not force themselves to meet every demand, do not contort themselves to please every side. Yes, live well, live kindly, think of others. But if you think only of others and forget yourself, if you hide your sadness so no one is uncomfortable, that is no longer kindness, it is blindness. A person who always yields will be treated as if yielding is their job. A person who never refuses will be treated as if their yes is guaranteed. A person who tries to please everyone may end up pleasing no one and losing their own heart entirely. So don't live to please, but don't cut yourself off from life either. Not cold, not indifferent, just clear about your boundary. Some things you can let go. Some things you can tolerate. Some things you can overlook. But some things you must protect. Some lines you must draw. Some truths you must say, so you do not keep harming yourself. A striking paradox appears. The more you try to please the world, the more you may be taken for granted. The more you accommodate without limit, the more you may be disrespected. Not because you lack worth, but because people get used to what comes too easily. People often respect boundaries more than they respect self-erasure. A person with principles makes others careful. A person who can say no makes others thoughtful in what they ask. A person who always accepts the loss invites others to let them lose again and again. And here is the deeper law. People value you partly by how you value yourself. If you treat yourself lightly, others learn to do the same. If you always place others above yourself, others will keep you below. So in the latter half of life, learn the art of no. Not harshly, not bitterly, simply, calmly. I'm sorry, I can't. This is beyond my strength. Today, I need rest. Sometimes you don't even need long explanations. Those who understand will understand with one sentence. Those who don't will never be satisfied by 10. The person who cannot refuse never becomes free. They live by other people's expectations, not their own needs. They stay busy solving the world's problems while their own spirit is left unattended. Bodhidharma's point is clear. You cannot hold everyone's heart. Holding your own heart is what you should learn. And holding your heart begins with knowing when to stop, when to decline, when to step away from what drains your peace. There is a freedom greater than money, greater than power, greater than applause, the freedom of the mind. It appears when you no longer depend on what others think, say, or feel about you. When you stop trying to please, your heart gains air. A small space, but a sacred one, where your breath returns, where your rhythm steadies, where you can be yourself instead of an approved version of yourself. Many people live their whole life without truly living for themselves. As children, for parents, in marriage, for spouse and children, in society, for praise and blame. Only when hair turns grey do they realize how much time has passed without asking what they actually want. Bodhidharma warned, a mind chained to others rises and falls with others. If they are pleased, you are pleased. If they are unhappy, you are unhappy. That is not liberation. He did not teach coldness. He taught sovereignty. Your emotional life should not be governed by someone else's shifting weather. When you stop pleasing, 3 truths become obvious. First, human hearts are unpredictable. You cannot chase them. Today they praise you, tomorrow they criticize you. Their words come from their mood, their circumstances, their lens, not your essence. If you build your worth on what is unstable, your mind will never rest. Second, those who truly love you will not require you to twist yourself into knots. Real love recognizes your limits. It does not demand you always meet every expectation. The relationships that force you to strains are often the ones that feed on you. When you stop pleasing, the difference between sincerity and exploitation becomes painfully clear. Third, when you stop living for others, you finally begin living for yourself, not selfishly, but sanely. A person who loves themselves with awareness becomes gentler and more stable. They do not demand repayment, do not carry resentment. They become slower, deeper, truer, and something almost magical happens. When you live true to yourself, people often respect you more. When you can refuse, people know your weight. When you have principles, people become careful. When you don't depend on their approval, they become more thoughtful in how they treat you. Because inner freedom is not leaving life behind. It is living within life without letting life control you. In the latter half of life, we don't have the energy to carry heavy relationships or chase people who don't want to stay. Not everyone who enters your life must be kept. Some come to teach you, some leave to lighten you, some remain to show you what loyalty is, and some depart so you learn how to stand on your own feet. Conditions meet and they come. Conditions separate and they go. Do not force, do not cling. That is the heart of the teaching. Not heartless, just wise. Keep the people who stand with you when you are at your weakest. Keep the people who don't speak sweetly, but do good. Keep the people beside whom you can be fully yourself, without acting, without fear, without constant self-editing. And learn to release the ones who drain you more than they nourish you. Release the ones who only appear when they need something. Release the ones who repeatedly look down on you. Not with hatred, not with revenge, simply with clarity. Your heart is not a public place. Not everyone has the right to enter. To let go is not to abandon. It is to return everything to its proper place. Letting go is not the end of kindness. It is the beginning of self-respect. It is the decision. I will no longer keep wounding myself for the comfort of others. And perhaps the final quiet lesson is this. So much of our pain is not caused by facts, but by the stories the mind invents. Someone's silence, someone's short reply, someone's distant look, and we write a whole tragedy in our head. Bodhidharma said, "Nothing makes a person suffer more than a mind that keeps thinking itself into misery." People haven't even blamed us, and we have already condemned ourselves. People haven't even left, and we are already trembling with abandonment. So in the latter half of life, learn this deeply. Each person has their own emotional sky, and you are not responsible for living under it. You are not required to keep someone happy forever. You are not required to carry their moods on your back. Your life must be steered by your own hands. Do not hand the wheel to anyone else's feelings, because the truest peace is simple. Live rightly, live kindly, keep your boundaries, do not betray your own heart. And then, whether the world approves or not, your mind will finally stand firm, and even a light wind will no longer make you lean.